What's up with everyone? This is Sirasonilynx back from the dead, and a lot of changes are going to be made in my upcoming tutorials. Obviously, better quality, but also watch out for reactions and reviews because that's coming up again. All right, today's topic is much requested topic. It was on stereo imaging. Remember, I had a video where I explained the depth factor in terms of stereo imaging, and today's topic is explaining the width factor in stereo imaging. As I told you guys before, to new beginners, easy way to envision the soundscape is of a three-dimensional pattern. So when we think of looking at something, right, we see in 3 dimensions. We have length, width, and height, right? So in the sound world, length is defined as let's say length is defined as the volume. Okay, so on your mixer, if you change the volume, or if you EQ, that'll be length, and in terms of width, it'll be whether it's left or right, so panning, on these knobs right here, it could be panning, among other things. And for depth, it was generally reverb or delay, as I explained to you guys last time, because anytime you have reverb or delay in your processing, it sounds like it's farther away. Anytime we hear an echo, our human brains are conditioned to think that the sound source is farther away. All right, so let's get at it. We're going to talk about the width factor today. All right, a lot of people, they always get confused when you think of width in terms of stereo imaging. And the best way I teach my students is that think of an orchestra. All right, so we have an orchestra right here. So we got all these bells and xylophones. There's a reason for this configuration right over here. You guys, anytime, if you guys have ever gone to see an orchestra, or even gone to see just a band, a rock band or something, there is a reason why electric guitars are, on one side, and the drums are in the middle, and all this stuff. So there's a reason for this. And over time, over a period of years, this has been changed by different composers. Certain composers have used other configurations. This modern configuration is actually a 20th century invention, so it's only in the recent years that this has been in the works. But just check it out. First of all, you got the violin, you got the whole string section up front, right? And then you have like the oboes and the flutes in the middle. And if you guys don't know, like oboes, clarinets, flutes, they're in like the vocal register. So they're in the register that, you could hear sound the most definitely. So it has to sit sort of behind the strings in order to cut through. If it sits in front, it's already cutting through so much. So, and then you have all these bass instruments which have long frequency ranges which sit in the back. All right, so you have to think about this kind of thing when you're doing it. Think of yourself as a composer. Think of yourself as, okay, as a composer, as a conductor, how am I gonna seat, my orchestra or my music in the scenario? So that's something you have to think about. And from here, we get into the world of mono and stereo. All right, or in other words, it's mid-side. It's a different way you could think of something. But you have mono and stereo. Obviously, we have 2 channels coming out from left and right, so we have mid-side. Generally, mid-side was used as a miking technique in the early days, before all the processing and all that stuff. Obviously, recording mics, tracking, that was like the earliest form, so it was used as a miking technique. And you have a cardioid, which is like this mic right here, which is called cardioid because cardiovascular is shaped like a heart, right? Cardioid, plus a figure 8 microphone which records only from the sides, so from both sides of the mic, and then you put it together to create a mid, which can be also said as mono, and a side, which is stereo, and then you put the thing together. This technique is actually still used a lot to record a lot of ambient noises, record stereo images for guitars and all that stuff. All right, and this is a good example of how they set it up. So this is the cardioid, and then you have a figure 8 right here. All right, So on FL Studio, how does that show? Let's go into it. So here I have this completely mono signal that I recorded, and as you guys could see from right here, it's completely mono. So let's slap on a little reverb first of all, so to make it a little stereo. Alright, so we're getting all this stereo stuff. And right here, if you guys look at it, we have the 100% merge. This knob, for you guys don't know what it does, this is obviously the panning knob like I was explaining. And this is the stereo separation knob. So here it will be completely mono, or somewhat trying to be completely mono. And this will be more separated. I mean, this is like the best that FL could do for, you know, for stereo separation. So don't blame that it's not completely mono when it does. But that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to put it in mid and then side. This is what the knob does. All right. Another aspect of the width factor can be summed up in doubling. All right, and if you guys don't know what doubling is basically you're doubling your tracks. So when you're recording, a lot of the times, if you hear any kind of professionally made music, it has a lot of double tracking system. So if I'm rapping, then I'll double my vocals on top of it to create a thicker, wider sound to it. All right, and that happens because the original signal and the second recorded signal, they have little differences, right? When a player plays a guitar, each time they play is a little bit different. So that causes like phasing issues, and that also causes you know, stereo separation as well. You can make it go wide. All right. There's a couple ways you could actually do these techniques on FL. So you could either do it by pitch shifting, you could do it by the Haas effect, pitch shifting, Haas effect. And then the third one is by different panning EQs. All right. So to begin with, I'll show you guys what I mean by pitch shifting. So I have two of the exact same signals. I just copied this. All right. I just make this unique again, just for your own sake. All right. Yeah, I can turn the reverb off. All right. Just louder, but the same, still mono as hell. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this up a little bit. I'm going to go here. Let's pitch it up about 300 cents. 300 cents was too much. Just do maybe like, you know, 5 or 10 cents. Ooh. That's good. And you guys could hear the phasing sound in it now. Let me turn this back up. You still can't really see it too well in the spectrum, but you could definitely hear there's a little phasiness going on. And EDM producers, they actually use this a lot. If you have like a sax solo, or if you have like some kind of drop in it, and you want to make it sound wider, they'll pitch, you know, they'll take exactly the same thing, pitch it up 5 semitones, 5 cents, and then the other one down 5 cents, and put it all together. Creates a wider spectrum. When you guys mess around with this, the important thing to note is that obviously this causes phase issues, so you probably don't want to do it with any kind of bass instruments, any kind of low end instruments. But generally what people end up doing is, whether it's for vocals or guitar or anything, you know, that's like mid to high range, they'll do this a lot. All right, another thing that you could do is a Haas effect. All right, people who don't know the Haas effect, let me show you what it is. All right, so the Haas effect is basically like a built-in like trait into our physical systems. And basically, if you have exactly the same sound source left and right, and let's say the right source is a little bit more delayed, right, by anywhere between they say anywhere between like 5 to about 50 milliseconds. If it's delayed, then what happens is it creates a feeling that it's still coming from the left side, although both sides are coming in. So since the left side is hitting us first, then the right side, it still feels to us that the sound source is coming from the left side. And in return, this in DAWs or whatever in mixing, it creates a stereo image. It creates a wider stereo image. So let's try this manually. First thing we're gonna do. Mono right now, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna delay this a little bit later. And also another thing you have to do is pan this all the way to the left, pan the second one all the way to the right, which is done. And as you guys could see from the Lisa Ju, creating that crazy ass stereo image. So this can be also used. An easy way to do this is actually if you guys open up stereo enhancer right here. All right, and if you just take the original signal, delay it, then it becomes a little stereo image for you right there. So that's the Haas effect. Be careful of using it again because it causes phasing issues. And then finally, on top of this, you have the panning EQs sort of deal, you know, to create a more stereo image. This is a common practice. So I have this, and I'm gonna pan one all the way to the left, the other one all the way to the right. And let me actually send guitar 2 out into a different channel. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have an EQ for here, and another EQ for the second one. So this guitar 1, guitar 2. And what people do is they'll generally EQ it differently. Let's say on the right track you want the mids a little higher. On the left track you want the mids cut highs a little brighter. So this kind of subtle differences, it creates a very wide stereo image. And you guys could obviously, these are all tools and you guys can mess around with it, trying to create different stereo images. All right, I'll list all of these below again so you guys could organize them. I know, and I'm back in the flesh, so watch out. Burger King's gonna come back soon too, so blout.